Pizza Hut.
Oh.
This encourages kids to be creative. The man was handsome. Hello, my name is Olivia Kennison, and this is my friend Kэрri Patterson. We are both Americans. I'm from New York.
And I'm from Boston.
And today we are going to react to Russian textbooks for high school students.
This is a biology book for the 7th form.
Animals.
Animals. Yes.
I like to learn about animals.
Already I'm going to say, when you say biology to me, I think of cells. I think of mitochondria.
The powerhouse
of the cell. ATP production. I don't think about, for example, the different types of birds.
Yeah, we don't learn this in our biology classes.
Yeah, like a goose versus a, what is this? A
good duck. Different kinds of geese. In our biology classes, we learn about what humans are made of. DNA, cells.
Oh,
scary. I don't know what that is. I should have learned what that was.
That's what my question is. Why are you learning the different types of beetles? I understand. Maybe if this was an elective, if you want to be...
Don't use them in our common life.
No, yeah, it's just, it's interesting.
Why they are spending time...
Exactly. Why are you going to be tested on these? So I think this part is important, learning about the different skeletal, structures.
Yeah.
That's something we would learn.
But we would not learn about species of particular animal.
Oh, this also is the scheme of the blood paths.
Yeah, I think we learn about
Learn
blood.
about that,
Yeah.
what the heart does. That's important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think we could note that Kэрri and I come from different states. And states have different requirements for education. So you grew up in Maryland?
I grew up in Maryland.
Maryland might have different education standards than New York. I had to take certain tests. You might have had to take other tests. So we learned different
common
things.
standards for United States?
For the whole United States. The states decide.
Yeah. So, and I know it's a biology book, it says, for animals. So I think they do a good job. They say it's going to be about animals. It's about animals. It's just interesting that this is an entire class.
It's the curriculum.
Devoted to animals.
Maybe we would have that as an extracurricular class,
or
in college.
Yeah.
We might learn about that in college.
Very specific. But it's interesting, especially if you want to do something with animals
this
or with
part
the...
of biology is devoted to animals.
Yes.
And
So...
it's
for its purpose on teaching you animal biology, it's a little old-fashioned because it's only illustrations is another thing we should
No
know.
photographs.
No photos. But, wait, Four, yeah, I was going to say. Four.
I would have liked to learn about animals.
I think it would be
in high
interesting.
school, but we learned about the Golgi bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, I'm seeing St. Basil's Cathedral. We saw that
A couple days ago.
I can jump like a frog, boing boing.
I can swim like a fish, splish, splash, splish. I think that's good to get the mouth moving the way you need to speak English. In Russian, one of the hardest parts is to open your mouth and use your throat as much as you need to when you're speaking English. We're kind of like, ah! In Russian, it's a lot more tight-lipped. You're just
Making the correct sound.
Making the correct sound. So this, learning, like, not just kind of nonsense words.
Yeah.
Boing, boing doesn't mean anything, but it has a lot of
Splish, splish.
sounds that
swish.
might be hard to make. So that's good to just practice.
Yeah.
This is fun because there's different types of activities. There's vocabulary, but then also songs and dialogues. Very good. It keeps things interesting.
Yeah, very creative. I like it.
Okay, so the dialogue. Nanny, oh dear Chuckles, what's the matter?
He can't find his teddy bear. Nanny, where's his teddy bear?
I don't know. First off, who's Chuckles?
I don't know.
Is it the monkey?
This is the chimp.
The chimp. Okay, so interesting. There's a chimpanzee.
A recurring character.
A recurring character. I like that they have this whole story going
Yeah,
throughout.
because then you're like, oh, Chuckles,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, I do like that setup. Oh, interesting. So you're learning the contractions already. It's sunny, not it is sunny. Which, it's sunny is more casual.
Yeah.
then it is sunny. But it's definitely used in conversation, you would say it's sunny. But in writing, you would say it is sunny. So it's good to know both because you need to know both.
Yeah.
So this seems to be focusing more on conversation than on...
Maybe these kids can't read that well yet.
So overall, what are we giving this book? 5? 5. I would say a 5 as well.
We like this one.
Good.
This encourages kids to be creative.
I agree.
Well, first we're going to look at these topics. How different the world is. Western democracies, are they democratic? Was this book published during the time of the Soviet Union?
Let's see. Let's go to Unit 3.
What's
What
hot?
is hot with the young generation?
Let's see if
So
we
that's
know.
Unit 5. Okay.
Young people, old problems.
What makes our children do this?
I think we have a pretty great time being young.
Yes.
Stop living. Okay.
A few years ago, alcohol, fights, killings, and other kinds of violence were more problems for adults than for young people.
But now, AIDS, violence, drugs, and alcohol are more and more associated with youngsters. Do you say youngsters,
I
Kэрri?
don't say youngsters.
This is a kind of language that is already sort of unfamiliar to us.
Yes. You turn to the net. We don't say net.
No.
Internet.
Internet.
You go to your computer. The webs. No. Yeah. I also agree that it's good to know what is the difference between a cord, a rope, a thread, or what else would you say?
Yes, to
They're
use
all-
right
yeah.
word.
They're all
Dental
mean.
floss.
Yeah, they all mean the same thing, like a piece of sturdy material that you hold on to.
Yes.
But knowing that a cord most of the time has electronics in it and that a rope is just fabric, it's good to know that you're learning these specific words for the
Still,
same
the main
thing.
difficulty is in using right word.
I think the main difficulty in this is that it's using very dated language, like cordless phone, the net. Those are not words that young people would know. So they might look at this exercise and have a difficult time solving it because these words don't exist. I think that this book has useful exercises, but the language and topics are very dated.
I would agree. We didn't find any blatant mistakes. So it gets a B.
B. This is an interesting little illustration showing how difficult it is to change social class.
Oh, that is very interesting.
Yeah. Social elevator. Elevating your class. This is sort of an interesting topic, perhaps, in Russia, coming out of 90 years of socialist government. I think we have issues with class in America.
But we just say it's easy if you work hard enough. They don't say it's easy, but they say if you work hard enough and if you put in the time, then it's likely that your social class will rise, which is not always true, and it's very difficult, like this illustration, to pick. So that's a good thing to be learning, I think. Especially, what grade is this for? 8th grade. Okay.
So it's the same, like 15-year-olds? I believe that people should be able to express themselves in any way that they believe. I think a girl should be able to play with a car and a boy should be able to play with a doll if he wants to. If my son wants to play with a doll, that's okay with me.
She doesn't have a son, just...
It's my future son.
For me, social science, social studies, we studied more how you are...
Like systems
of government. It was more like, I don't know if you know the political science.
Judicial, legislative, executive.
It was not like how do people interact. It wasn't about real world problems. So this book is interesting that it's tackling more personal issues.
Like social class and gender.
Exactly.
What kind of problems are just learned by you in your textbooks concerning society?
So it's to us, social science is a mixture of learning about history and government. And instead of just saying history and government almost, correct me if I'm wrong,
I think
they smush it into one class called social studies, where you study not just history, but also how history has led us to where we are today. And
how to be a citizen.
How to be a citizen. Some people call it in their school civics. So you learn how to be a citizen. Which I can see how this is taking a different approach to the same idea. How do you be a citizen? You need to know these issues in order to be a responsible citizen in your society.
For example, in my civics classes, we learned about Supreme Court cases and what they told us about American laws.
Exactly.
Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Smith.
Yeah. So you're learning about economics here.
We also learned about economics and social studies, I think.
Which is an interesting thing. It's interesting that they chose
Pizza Hut.
I think this book is good because it preps you for adulthood.
Complex issues.
However, I think coming from the American perspective or from the United States, it's not what I was expecting.
I would call it a little prescriptivist. It's saying that there's one thing that's right. I think the way I was taught was sort of subjective, meaning you can, like, Supreme Court cases are all subjective. It's about judges who studied the Constitution of the United States and know the laws very well and make decisions based on that. So we're taught that history and civics are subjective. To our ignorant eyes, this looks a little objective.
This is the right thing to do.
This is Intro English, 9th.
Okay.
What do you think about this?
Let's get into it. Should we pay attention to...
9th year of education.
It's the most interesting.
Let's do that. So there's tabs that we're flipping to.
Do you use all this
Constructions, let's see.
I think I have been teaching this grammar to my students, and I think it's interesting because we never think about this when we're talking, but it's very important for students of English to know when to use continuous, when to use perfect. For us, it's instinctual, but for foreign students, it's very difficult because this would all just be present tense in Russian.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think one of the more difficult differentiations is between perfect continuous. The example is, I can't eat a sandwich as my hands are dirty. I have been grooming the horses, which implies that you're done grooming the horses, but it's still in present, which is very confusing to understand.
It was an action that was in progress. I think this is very important grammar.
I agree. So I do think it makes the Russian textbook here puts a lot of emphasis on intonation when in reality, people will know if you're asking a question based on the question words you use.
I would say might be helpful for very early students.
Agreed.
But once they get more advanced, this will come naturally.
Yeah, it's for the ninth form, right? So that's how old are you in the ninth form?
It's better than the first one.
15 years
15,
old.
okay. 15 years old. So right off the bat, right in the beginning, it's asking you questions like, what is the official name? What is the size and geographical position? So you're going to be learning very technical language, but technical language that we don't use often. So, for example, the geographical position.
Do you know what that is?
It's good to know it's good to know, but it's not.
Yeah, this is pretty advanced.
It's advanced, yeah.
If you were a student who wanted to study American geography in America travel, if you wanted to enter a specific field, but for conversational English,
where are you from?
Probably won't come up. I think this is a book for advanced students. A lot of language is too specific to be useful in conversation, but might be helpful to advanced students.
It's helpful too if you're reading. When you get advanced and you start reading more advanced books, I can see how this information would be useful to know. Also, I do really like the chart in the beginning with the different tenses.
We give this book a 5.
A 5, yep.
Very helpful.
Helpful.
For advanced students.
So this is the Tatar language book. Just a warning, we know 0 words in Tatar, so Tatar. So now we're looking at the book. Our criteria is comparing this to the other English language books we've seen.
I think Just aesthetically, I think Tata looks very beautiful.
It does, but this book looks boring.
It looks boring.
It's just words on a page. We'll give this a 2.
2.
It's boring.
It's boring.
But it has poetry, so a redeeming quality.
This is another book. Spotlight English for 8.
Thank you. Let's get into it.
43.
Oh, idioms. Let's get into this.
That's kind of cool, yeah. What's the weather like today? It's boiling hot today. Do you say that, Kэрri?
I would say it's just boiling, but not
It's
even. I would
boiling.
just say it's
Very hot.
very hot. If you
Wait.
wanted to use colorful language, though.
Yeah, this maybe it's a little British.
To
To feel under the weather. I say that.
Yeah, I say that. But this one is interesting. To be a bolt from the blue. I don't know what that means. To be a bolt from the blue.
This is an expression neither of us have.
To be out of the blue. Okay, yeah.
It means suddenly.
Suddenly, yeah.
In Russia, they go to school at the age of 6 or 7. Primary school, secondary school, and senior school. This is different from our education system.
Quite different.
We have elementary school and high school.
So what I found most interesting coming to Russia is that there is such a thing as Saturday class, which would never happen in the United States.
You don't have class in
Never, no.
Saturday?
No.
There would be a riot.
It would cause huge problems.
We would be very sad and angry.
Yeah, and so that was something I was like,
When I have to teach on Saturdays, I am very angry. Irregular verbs, they're not fun to learn, but they're important.
stink. Yeah, I know you have them in Russian too, so don't get all like, oh, English is so much
you
harder.
gotta
No.
study grammar.
Yeah.
You don't want to. We don't want to study Russian grammar. This is more advanced than our Russian at this point.
I would say,
We have
yeah.
studied for about 4 years. This, at this point, you have already studied for 6 years.
What's also interesting is that all of this is in English, even the directions,
Yeah, no, which is good.
which is really good. Really good, like fill in all of these. So this seems very advanced.
Yeah.
Where you should be after 6 years of learning, I'd say.
Yeah,
And it's
this-
talking about age-appropriate material, I think. They're talking about schools, which you're still in school when you're using this book. But it's expecting more. This book is expecting more from you from the previous book we just looked at.
Yeah.
Who is the author of this book?
Virginia Evans,
Who's the
Jenny
author?
Dooley, Olga Podolyako, and Julia Vaulina. Piat.
Yeah. So we're comparing 7th and 8th grade classes together. So I have the 7th.
I have the 8th.
Let's
I
first.
think we know who this is.
Yeah, we do.
A.C. Pushkin. Gogol, Lermontov, Pushkin, Ryleyev. I've never read.
Mayakovsky.
That's me. That's what I like.
There's Gorky.
Karamzin, I've read. Derzhavin, I have not read. I think that kind of looks more my style.
Want to switch?
Sure.
So I think this, right off the bat, has a lot of covers a lot of ground. And you have so much Russian literature to learn about that it's good.
The man was handsome. Let's be
Mayakovsky.
honest. I think it's interesting to me that students in the 7th class are already being exposed to the kind of experimental avant-garde poetry of Vladimir Mayakovsky. I don't think in American high schools we read experimental poetry.
You also don't read poetry that often.
Not really.
You read books.
Literature.
You read Tom Sawyer or To Kill a Mockingbird, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. You spend a lot of time on novels or plays sometimes, but
The Crucible.
yeah.
I think this is also kind of interesting because I studied Russian literature in college, but I have not heard of a lot of these writers. So, even as a person who studied Russian literature from an American perspective, it shows me I have a lot to learn.
I would give these a 5.
5.
Resounding 5.
Resounding 5.
Good job.
This is English Spotlight for children 10, 11
Great.
years old.
Thank you. Let's dig in.
countable versus uncountable nouns.
Yes. Some bananas versus milk.
Yeah, you wouldn't say many milk,
No.
but you could say many bananas.
So some plus countable nouns in the plural, uncountable nouns just singular. You don't say I want some milks. Ooh, and I like that they put a little blurb about Russia here.
Yeah.
Let's
in
learn
a
about
familiar
Uh-huh.
context. Yeah.
I like that you're learning about your own country in English. So
Yeah.
you're able to then go and tell other people you have the vocabulary to teach us about it.
I think this is a great book.
I like this book.
Yeah.
I like this whole Spotlight series. I think
too.
it does a very good job of introducing the language.
These are representative of a very different education system than the one we have experienced in the U.S., but we saw a lot of valuable, helpful work to
Yeah.
be done. We thought it was funny that some things were dated, but it's
That's
just,
true.
it's a little funny, but it's not inherently bad.
And I think that these Spotlight books do a good job of introducing you to a second language, but books aren't everything. If you have a great book, but you don't want to learn, you're not going to learn. So I think we like all of these.
Yeah, they're tools.
They're good tools to have. Thank you for watching.
This has been Kэрri and Olivia.
Hit the subscribe button below.